Hello, Out of Index. I'm James Earl Cox III, one half of Seemingly Pointless. My brother, Joe Cox, is the other half. We're very honored to have the opportunity to talk to you today about two of our seemingly pointless games. You must be 18 or older to enter, and Moloch. As you will hear, an undercurrent in all of our work, we approach design from non-traditional directions, often creating engaging experiences beyond fun, and altering components of video games that are often taken for granted. Let's dive into the games. You Must Be 18 or Older to Enter recreates the feeling of being a prepubescent kid looking at porn for the first time. Through interactive fiction elements combined with ASCII-styled art, You Must Be 18 or Older to Enter blurs several genres together to create an anxious experience. It is akin to horror, yet the fear is of being caught by parents for looking at the human body. Interestingly, the ASCII-style art was specifically chosen for this game to make the images to read hard up close. This forces the player into a childlike role. The closer you sit to the screen, the harder it is to read the images. This also means that audiences farther back will have a clearer glimpse at what's happening on the screen. It's much like sticking your face too close to a newspaper. Too close, all you see is dots. You have to be a distance away in order to see the picture that you're trying to look at. But this also forces the player into that kid role because it's hard to figure out what you're looking at. You don't quite understand what you're seeing, and you have to kind of guess at it. It makes the game that much more anxiety-inducing. If anyone walks in on you as you play this game alone, they may not believe that you're just playing a game. And when the game is shown publicly in venues, it means anyone looking over your shoulder will have a much clearer vision of seeing what you might be struggling to see. We also try to design the game's public space when it is shown around this, turning the game's display area into a mini art installation. We usually settle on making the space look like a 1990s American living room or home office, complete with VHS tapes and ornamental pictures. The game itself opens by setting the narrative. It tells you that your parents have just left. You hear keys in ignition and a car rumbling and driving away. It tells you that you're home, apparently too sick from school, yet also interested in checking out what all this fuss is about you've been hearing at school. Once you turn off the TV and look out the window and make sure that nobody's coming, you head to the computer room. As the player explores websites and gets deeper and deeper into this adult world, they always have a glaring button at the bottom of the screen. Look behind you. It's a button always reinforcing the paranoia that there could be somebody both in the game trying to catch you and in real life, right over your shoulder, ready to embarrass you for what you've been looking at. To supplement the tension and increase the worry on the player's part, the game has a couple jump scares. Periodically, as you dive through the website, things happen in the background. A door creaks, a car drives past, ad pop-ups beep at you. It's kind of funny to consider these jump scares. There's no monsters or ghosts jumping out at the player. Yet within this game's frame, and being afraid of being caught, almost any noise is a good reason to quit out of the browser and turn off the computer and head back to the couch and pretend like you never saw anything at all. Our hope with You Must Be 18 or Older to Enter was to create a game within the horror genre that subverts all of those tropes. We didn't want to have violence, we didn't want to have monsters, we wanted to make a game that would be able to create those feelings, but without any of that typical content. So, thinking about things that make you anxious, this game's topics hit that matter pretty well. The second game we'll be talking to you about is Moloch Zero. This game has many similarities with 18 or older, and we actually consider it a spiritual successor, yet there's also a lot of differences, and the game itself started off at a very different point. Moloch, in essence, is a dystopian worker management game. When we started off making You Must Be 18 or Older to Enter, we wanted to make a horror game that didn't have monsters or violence or death. When we started off making Moloch, we want to make a puzzle game around a puzzle mechanic that we didn't think would have potential to become a very narrative-driven game, and then figure out a way to turn it into a narrative-driven game. So the basis of this game is actually a traffic light game, but rather than control the flow of traffic, you control the flow of workers as they move from elevator to elevator, descending down into the earth. Turning cars into workers was inspired by Fritz Lang's Metropolis, a 1920 German expressionist film. What we really wanted to do with this game, after figuring out how we could adapt the traffic light puzzle game into a narrative game, was to examine the idea of flow. Now, most games want flow. Flow is that state where you blink and hours pass. You're just so engaged in a task. But for the sake of Moloch, we wanted to make players think about it. We wanted to have players engage with the game and decide if they really wanted to go into flow. Everything about Moloch is meant to emulate corporate software. The game itself is application software, where you, the player, are applying for a job to work at Moloch for the position of shift manager. When you boot up the game, it boots up a fake desktop where you have a few options of README files and an idle game to play on the desktop. Much like the narrative intro to You Must Be 18 or Older to Enter, this allows the player to familiarize themselves with the world of Moloch. And once you double-click on the little Moloch application icon within the fake desktop, the actual gameplay begins. It gives you a brief rundown of the skills that you will be tested on, and then it throws you into a situation where you must handle workers. You are given 3 icons: a red pause button, a yellow normal speed arrow, and a green double time arrow. Moloch is all about efficiency. The interviewer, who's running you through this application process, is testing you on your time and ability to solve problems. And given that the double speed icon is green, it would make you think that there's no problems. You double time your workers and they get to their elevators faster. However, when you do this, your workers begin to pass out due to exhaustion and remain still on the floor. This is where the questioning comes in. When you play Moloch, do you overwork your workers in order to get the best time and allow yourself to slip into flow? Or do you critically assess the system and start figuring out, do I really want to double time these workers? Maybe I want them to walk just a little slower because I don't want to overwork them before they get to their elevator shaft. Moloch Company clearly doesn't care for its workers, and that brings up the question, will they care about you if they hire you? A great aspect of both Moloch and You Must Be 18 or Older to Enter is that because they cast the player in the role of themselves as they sit in front of their computer playing through these games, there's almost no wrong way to play it. If you want to overwork your workers to get the job, then great. That's how your playthrough of the game goes. If you want to question the in-game systems rather than just accepting it, then that's how your playthrough might go. And the neatest part is that there's no right or wrong answer. Both ways of playing this game are totally valid. Just like in You Must Be 18 or Older to Enter. Maybe you'll quit out of the website after only 1 or 2 pictures. Maybe you want to see how much porn there is out there. Can you see all the porn? There is no right or wrong. It's all up to the player. From both Joe and I, Thank you again for having 2 of our games at Out of Index. And if you have any feedback, questions, follow-ups, please feel free to contact us at our Twitter handle @SeamPoint or through our Gmail account, seeminglypointless@gmail.com.